Our monthly theme is Living as Wholeness, and our talk today is Embracing Wholeness. So Ernest Holmes, who founded the science of mind and spirit back in the early 20th century, said, "The spark which burns at the center of our own soul is caught from the living and eternal flame of spirit." So the spark which burns at the center of our own soul is caught from the living and eternal flame of the Spirit. So our charge is to recognize, nurture, and express the divine as wholeness. And yes, I am on. We kindle this flame by living from our own divine center, recognizing it in others, and working for it in our community and the world, and looking to the great way showers who inspire and guide us. In this, the universe knows us as whole. So we know that there are two aspects of creation. There is the conditioned aspect of creation, and we might think of this as a cross. The horizontal line is the conditioned universe, the finite universe, inside of time and space. And then the vertical is the unconditioned, infinite, outside of time and space. And we are the place where those two things meet. Now I happen to love Celtic crosses because they have the circle around that place where the conditioned and unconditioned aspects of reality come together. And the circle represents the infinite love of God, a circle without beginning and end. So we are the place where the infinite and the finite meet. So each of us, at the center of our being, is that spark of the divine. That infinite presence is right where we are. We come into this finite realm with that realization, with that aspect, knowing ourselves. So when we know that, it is a blessing that allows us to guide our lives in positive directions. But sometimes it doesn't feel so divine. Have you noticed? When we're stuck in the conditioned dimension, the horizontal line inside of time and space, we feel like we're at the mercy of our conditions. We feel like a victim of our circumstances. So some friends and I are reading this book called The Inner Work of Age, moving from role to soul. And it's by Connie Zweig. And in the chapter we just read, it invited us to do a life review, look at our lives broken down by decades. So I have to say the 60s were a wild decade. And during that decade, I got a job with an airline and moved to LA. And my boyfriend got drafted because it was the Vietnam War time. And I used to write to him every week when he was in basic, and then we still corresponded. He got transferred to Hawaii. Tough assignment here. He got transferred to Hawaii, and I was writing to him. And because I worked for an airline, I wrote to him and said, "Hey, I could come and see you because I really miss you and I love you." Now, you've heard of Dear John letters? I got a Dear Jane letter where he wrote back and said, "Well, I thought at one time I might have been in love with you, but no, I'm not. So sorry, have a good life." Well, I was devastated. I thought, the Buddha says that we should, peace comes when expectation ends. Because, of course, as I was going along in this relationship, I already had the wedding planned at the Catholic Church, and we were going to have, this many kids. I named the kids. It was like Talk about expectations. I had really overdone it. But I was 20, and I had these expectations, and my culture, my society had given me these kinds of expectations for what I was supposed to do. So I transferred back to San Francisco to be with friends and family there, and I decided I was going to go to UC Berkeley. So the trajectory of my life changed, and the trajectory of my life realized my heart's desire and brought me where I am today. So it was a disaster at the time, but it turned out to be something that was more than I could ever have imagined or anticipated. In the early 19th century, or the early 20th century actually, in Alabama, the boll weevil destroyed the cotton crop. And in Enterprise, Alabama, they decided that the crop was done, the cotton was done, and so instead of just bemoaning their fate, they switched to peanuts. And they switched to other agricultural products. And they were so grateful to the boll weevil because they got very prosperous. They erected a statue of the boll weevil in the middle of their town. So we never know when a disaster is going to turn out to be an opening to a greater dimension of good than we could have imagined. So that is, when a circumstance turns into a new possibility. So I wanted to show you a little demonstration. We'll see how this works here. So this is how we come in. We come in as a bright light, right? The bright light of spirit. And then our family tells us what we need to do and who we need to be. And then our culture tells us, and our education tells us who we're supposed to be. And then our relationships and life experiences tell us what we're supposed to be, right? And so all that light gets covered up, right? Wow. It's still there. It's still burning just as brightly, but all this stuff we have piled onto it hides it from us. We get caught at the mercy of our conditions. So how do we get back into revealing that light, revealing that wholeness? In the Bible, of course, in the New Testament, Matthew says that Jesus said, "Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you." And of course, he said the kingdom of God is within, is within. So we call the master teacher Jesus the great example, not the great exception. That he was here to teach us about the fact that we are that light and that we need to remove anything that impedes our recognition of and experience of and living from that life. So we do that through spiritual practices. So we do prayer and meditation, right? We do prayer and meditation. We do study and service. And we do giving and gratitude and forgiveness and compassion. And when we practice that, we reveal that light again. We come from the place that is our true center, our divine light within. So I'm going to put our divine light on the altar there for a moment. All right, and throw these things away. All right. So once we've connected to our wholeness, we can more easily see the wholeness in others. So we're connected to everything. In this month's Science of Mind magazine, which is all about wholeness, got some great articles, but the daily guides are written by Dr. John Waterhouse. And he says, we are like raisins in Jell-O. So you shake the Jell-O, everything shakes, right? So all the raisins in the Jell-O are going to shake. So everything that happens in the world that we find out about shakes us up. We get shaken up by all this stuff. So the practice of loving contributes to the wholeness of the race. Our loving consciousness contributes to the wholeness of the race. At the collective, at the horizontal level, in the conditioned universe, we are part of the collective consciousness. So our thoughts of wholeness, our thoughts of love and compassion, our thoughts of gratitude and fulfillment and wholeness, we are putting fresh water into the murky water of our consciousness. And we know that if we pour the fresh water into the murky water will go away and be replaced with the fresh water. So we are putting those thoughts of love and wholeness and gratitude and fulfillment and goodness of every kind into our consciousness to impact the consciousness of the collective. So when I'm working on a Sunday talk, I'm frequently amazed by synchronicities that happen. And of course, I heard something on NPR. This is something these people know about that. I'm always getting some of my stuff from NPR. And they cited a study by the National Institutes of Health that found that people who have larger and more diverse types of social ties tend to live longer. They also tend to have better physical and mental health than people with fewer such relationships. Social support may be especially productive during difficult times, and we know that. I also remember that I read a study a while back that said that people who go to church live an average of 8 years longer than other people. So look at Rosalind and Jimmy Carter. They were still building houses in 2019 for Habitat for Humanity in their 90s. You know, they were amazing. Dr. Waterhouse also quotes Margaret Wheatley, who said, "When we seek connection, we restore the world to wholeness. Our seemingly separate lives become meaningful as we discover how truly necessary we are to each other." We are necessary to each other. We are all a part of the whole. We are all a part of the whole. And the origin of the word whole comes from a Middle English word that means health. So our wholeness is healthy. It's health for ourselves, it's health for our community, it's health for our country, it's health for our planet. So I'd like to just invite you to do a little exercise with me. And this is an exercise I do every morning. Now, the people who are in martial arts, in the Asian martial arts, believe that our energy center is right here below our belly button. They call it the dantian. Okay, so I would like you to imagine that there is a light there. And that light could be any color. Could be white, could be gold, could be green, could be blue, whatever light works for you. You have that light at the center of your being and this energy center. And so I would like you to imagine that light then flowing through your body, up through your chest, revealing the wholeness, restoring, renewing, and going further up into your lungs and your heart, and going further into your throat, and to your jaw, and to your eyes and nose and flesh, and your brain, your whole body. Now, taking a breath, we go take that energy, take that ball of light, and we go down, restoring, renewing, refreshing, restoring wholeness to our head, to our throat, to our chest, to our abdomen, to our thighs, to our knees, to our calves, to our ankles, to our feet. Let's do that one more time. We take the energy from this center, and it flows up through the abdomen, up through the chest, restoring, renewing, refreshing, restoring wholeness, bringing that wholeness all the way up into our brain and all the way down our shoulders, our arms, our hands, our chest, our abdomen, our thighs, our knees, our legs, our ankles, our feet. We are restoring the wholeness that it is. We are reminding every cell in our body, which has some aspect of consciousness, that it is whole as well. And so we remember our wholeness. We invite our wholeness to be who and what we are. Our affirmation today was, I am made in the image of the divine, living a whole life. Let us remember that in every moment. And so it is.